The Avengers are supposed to be the good guys, right? Right? Well, apparently that's not always the case. First, let's talk about Swordsman. The Swordsman is one of the most badass and underrated villains to ever join the Avengers. The story of how the Swordsman joined the team is so crazy because the dude basically bullied his way onto the team. You see, the Swordsman already had an extensive resume as a villain before he decided he wanted to become an Avenger, and he didn't really do it because he was remorseful for his past actions or anything like that. In fact, he only wanted to join the team because he was secretly in cahoots with the Mandarin and was set on infiltrating the team. But instead of pretending to be nice and putting on a sorry face, he actually just did what he does best, throwing down with the Avengers and beating up everybody, even threatening to throw Cap over the edge of the building, basically bullying the Avengers into letting him join. That's right, this dude strong-armed his way onto the Avengers team. Now it's surprising that nobody really knows about the Swordsman because he's just truly badass, but once he joined the team, however, his intentions changed and he finally did have that change of heart after realizing that the Avengers are actually pretty decent. So instead of committing to the betrayal of the Avengers, he just hightailed it out of there. Now fast forward 8 years and guess who's back on the scene? The Swordsman, now with a legit invitation to join the Earth's mightiest heroes. If there's any villain who earned his spot on the team, it's definitely this guy. Next, let's talk about Sabertooth, who's well known as one of the most brutally animalistic villains to have ever walked the Earth. But all of that changed thanks to the Axis event, a spell which flipped the moralities of heroes and villains. Now, Sabertooth had joined the heroes' ranks before, but this was the very first time he did so with genuine intentions of doing good, embracing a heroic role and allying himself with the Avengers' cause. Now, unlike most villains who went back to their usual ways once the spell was over, the morality inverting effects actually didn't fade away for Sabertooth. He continued as a changed character, now an integral part of the Avengers Unity division. Unfortunately though, his heroic nature wouldn't last forever as he became evil once again after sacrificing himself to revive his son. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. Next up is Dr. Octopus. There have been a slew of villains who have joined the Avengers under the guise of a hero while secretly harboring evil intentions, but Dr. Otto Octavius stands out as one of the very few villains who genuinely wanted to do some good as a hero, joining the Avengers while he was secretly in control of Spider-Man's body during the whole Superior Spider-Man arc. Now, while he did try his best at being a better Spider-Man than Peter Parker ever was, deep down, at the end of the day, he was still the arrogant and rage-filled Doc Ock, and so he tended to take things way too far, like that time he straight up punched the Scorpion's jaw clean off, or his tendency to not really care about ending the lives of his villains to keep him down. This Spider-Man was a much more lethal version than most we've ever seen. Now, Doc Ock's stint as Spidey didn't last forever, however, as a sliver of Peter's consciousness still resided in his mind and fought desperately to take his body back. Eventually, after a humbling moment where he realized he wasn't a better Spider-Man, he sacrificed himself so that Peter Parker could return. Next is Vernaki. The new Avengers run was most notable for revealing that many of the Avengers superheroes had been secretly replaced by shape-shifting Skrulls for basically the entire time. It was during the Secret Invasion arc that it was revealed that the literal queen of the Skrulls herself had been secretly impersonating Spider-Woman for years. This meant that a Skrull had been the founding member of the new Avengers, serving as a double agent against Hydra, and even siding with the government-sanctioned Avengers during Civil War so that she could get closer to Tony Stark. The revelation of her true identity was a jaw-dropper, marking the climax of Secret Invasion. Now, despite the fact that she had been heroic for the most part, she was eventually ended by Norman Osborn, who's definitely not known for his subtlety, putting an end to the Skrull Queen's masquerade with a bullet through the brain, concluding her chapter in Avengers history. Next up is Magneto. While nowadays Magneto is considered more of an anti-hero than a straight-up bad guy, his villainous roots definitely run deep. He's fought against the X-Men probably about as many times as he's joined them, give or take a few. But it's not very often that you see him teaming up with the Avengers, however, given his mutant superiority complex and how he detests humans. His stint as an Avenger happened during the whole Axis event that I mentioned earlier, the huge spell that flipped the moralities of many characters, turning bad guys good and vice versa. Now, feeling all good and moral, Magneto became one of the founding members of the Astonishing Avengers in a bid to stop the Red Skull. Putting aside his hate for humans, Magneto teamed up with Steve Rogers and even Thor as they would go on to tackle the rest of the Avengers and X-Men who had turned evil as part of the spell. However, after the spell was reversed, Magneto went back to being a human hater. Next is Wonder Man. Wonder Man is the original Avengers villain turned hero. Gifted with extraordinary powers by the notorious Masters of Evil, Simon Williams was trained for a mission specifically to infiltrate the Avengers, becoming the Masters of Evil's inside man. At first, Wonder Man's initial allegiance was, of course, to his villainous mentors. However, a moral dilemma sparked an internal conflict within him. In a surprising turn of events, he chose to betray the Masters of Evil, aligning himself with the Avengers fully to thwart the Masters of Evil's sinister plans. While this twist of fate secured the Avengers' victory, it ended up costing Wonder Man his life, as in a heroic act of self-sacrifice, he went down fighting for the greater good. Now, thankfully, however, Wonder Man's story doesn't end there, because like most characters in comic book history, Wonder Man just couldn't stay dead, and he later returned to the land of the living, retaining his moral allegiance to the Avengers. From a villainous pawn to a fully fledged Avenger, at number 4 is Moondragon. Now, many would consider Moondragon to be a morally ambiguous character as opposed to an outright villain. But I mean, come on, her very first appearance had her take on the name Madame MacEvil, for crying out loud. She was known for orchestrating villainous plots like, for example, hijacking Iron Man's armor and forcing him to fight against Namor in battle just so she could see who was stronger. Now, on the other hand, she was responsible for giving many superpowered beings their powers so that they could fight against Thanos, but everyone she helped create ended up becoming supervillains anyway, so yeah, pretty ambiguous. Now, surprisingly, Moondragon got a shot at redemption and joined the Avengers on a probationary basis. In the Celestial Madonna saga, she joined the Avengers alongside heroes like Beast and Mantis. But she wasn't too comfortable there, and she eventually bailed before officially becoming Avenger, which was actually a relief for many of the superheroes on the team. Unlike some reformed baddies who stuck around for a while, Moondragon's run with the team didn't even last 20 issues, after which she went off to mentor Hellcat. Next up is Avenger X, the only villain on this list who actually started as a hero, but her deep secret about the insidious natures of her powers led her to eventually betray the team. During the days of Cap's kooky quartet, the Avengers welcomed Avenger X, an obscure member with a unique power, amplifying her teammates' abilities, which everybody thought was great. A support character on the Avengers that gives everybody a free boost? Well, not so fast, because this power comes with a catch. In order to fuel her teammates, she had to secretly drain the life force from others. Now, initially, she had the best of intentions as she genuinely believed she was making her team stronger. However, as the days went by, her methods took a dark turn. Fearing that her secret draining powers might get out, she began sowing the seeds of internal dissent among the Avengers, attempting to turn the Avengers against each other. The climax unfolded in a dramatic showdown against the Quartet, where Avenger X became dangerously close to triumph. However, the original Avengers made a surprise return, teaming up with their successors to take down the now villainous Avenger X. At number 2 is Quicksilver, son of Magneto and member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, though it was later revealed that the Maximoffs were actually given their powers by the High Evolutionary in his mission to speed up human evolution, but that's besides the point. Anyways, Pietro and his sister Wanda had a change of heart when he realized that he and his sister were pawns for their father, just tools of destruction against the X-Men. From that point on, they ditched the villain gig, opting for a life where they could use their powers for themselves and nobody else. When the Avengers had a hiring spree, Quicksilver saw an opportunity. Convincing his sister, the duo joined the Avengers, making up half of the second roster. Skipping out on settling scores with the X-Men, Pietro and Scarlet Witch proved their mettle in battle, even though this Avengers roster was initially looked down upon and dubbed Cap's Kooky Quartet. Although Quicksilver's stint with the Avengers was short-lived, he left a mark showcasing his superhero side. And at number 1 is Vision, who started off as a synthetic villain who had a heart of gold. Vision, the android initially designed by Ultron to be the Avengers' worst nightmare. However, if it were not for Ultron deciding to use the brainwaves of Simon Williams in Vision's programming, because if you guys recall, Simon Williams is actually the Wonder Man from earlier in this list, someone who's known for flipping sides in Avengers infiltration missions. And that seemed to be Ultron's fatal flaw, and so during the epic showdown between Ultron and the Avengers, Vision was unleashed to take down our beloved heroes. However, this metallic marvel had a change of heart. While initially following Ultron's orders, Vision couldn't ignore his moral compass embedded within his artificial being. And in a turn of events, Vision turned the tables on his creator, breaking free from Ultron's control. This newfound independence led Vision to switch sides, aligning himself with the Avengers to take Ultron down. And lo and behold, the Avengers welcomed him with open arms because, well, I mean, of course they did. He's the most powerful synthezoid to ever walk the earth. So from that moment on, Vision became a long-standing member, contributing to countless victories against countless adversaries. As always, if there's a villain who joined the Avengers that you think I missed in today's video, feel free to let me know down in the comments. This has been AJ with Top 10 Nerd, and I'll catch you all in a later video. Peace out, nerds.